But no, it's such a short time. It's just amazing that in such a short time you build up such an incredible reputation. Tim is a wild man of advertising. Has been an enfant terrible. He's also been one of my heroes. He was always in a good agency ahead of me, and always doing better than me for most of my career. And so he's greatly admired and respected by everybody who's around him. So with that,
that's a lot to live up to, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So, having said all that, I'm going to talk to you about when I got out of advertising, which is I stopped, and I went to train as a psychotherapist. And what I'm going to do with you today is from that. I trained. I went back. I got a doctorate from the university in the city I was born with. Then I was licensed as a psychotherapist from London University. I worked for a year as an analyst, and then came back into the business, and I went to America, where I've been for the last 8 years, back in advertising as Gray's Worldwide Creative Director. So that's the boring bit. The interesting bit is that whilst I was doing this course, I suddenly thought a lot of the things that we are learning here, and a lot of things that we apply psychologically, work very much for the creative. So when I started again, I went to America, I put this kind of little thing together. Normally it's an hour and a half, so obviously I can't do that. And it deals with the three perceptions. It deals with the visual perception, the auditory perception, and today I'm just going to stick to the visual. And basically the whole thing is about you. It's nothing to do with me. I'm going to give you this exercise. I want you to get into this 25, so 5 5s, and I want you to do this exercise and then feed back to me what you get out of it. Okay?
You need to.
No, I was going to do some... right. Okay, so that's suddenly disappeared. And now we have... This is what we're talking about. We don't see things as they are. We see things as we are. Think about that. Actually, my art director for many years was Paul Arden, we both went to Saatchi together. And in one of his books, he uses this quote. It was always, we did this thing called S together, which is the Earhart system of training, which is a mad thing where you leave your wife, you go bankrupt. Anyway, all that happened, and Paul and I fell apart. Trott did it, Robin White did it, loads of people in England did it. One of the things I always remembered, one of Werner Earhart's quotes is, "It's always easier to ride the horse in the direction it is going." They're all very simple and obvious, but when you think about them, they're not. And he did this little book of aphorisms. It said, some aphorisms, or up to your ass in aphorisms. And this was one of them. We don't see things as they are, we see things as we are. Now bear that in mind. For this whole half an hour, I want you to watch the process of your mind. I want you to watch how you interrelate. He's yawning, so let's start with him. I know, I'm boring.
No.
Yes.
No.
You don't know. Anyway, right. Next slide. Yeah. Who knows this picture? About now he's scratching his head. Does that mean do you know it or you don't know it?
No, I don't know it.
Okay, good.
I'm sorry again.
Okay. This is in Monmouth. It's by an American realist painter called Andrew Wyeth, and it's one of America's favourite paintings. I don't know why it is, but it is. And what I want you to do is to look at it. For other than 3 of you, absolutely, you will be able to do this. Look at it afresh. If you have seen it before, look into it. Look from in yourself. Look what's happening there. And then I want you to answer these 3 questions. What happened before? What's happening now? And what happens next? So free your mind of any other associations. You've seen this image, just put yourself there, see that woman in that situation, and I want you to say what happened before, what's happening now, and what happens next. So, and I want you to do this in 5, so this will be, you can join this, this is going to be difficult.
Just do it in 4s, it might be easier.
Yeah, do it in 4s. Okay. I want you to do this in 4s. Okay, go back to the picture, please, Carol.
Yeah.
Okay. Is everybody? It's very simple, but it's much more. It's as profound as you make it, because you'll see it's where you come from that you see this picture. Okay. So, in your 4s, get together now, and I'll put the 3 things up, and we'll give you what, 10 minutes? Okay. Yeah. So what I want you to do is to just for the lady who just joined. What we're doing, I'll just show you the picture again. Right. This picture. I'm actually getting 2 instructions at once. This picture and this is what you want to write about it in that 4-element line. What happened before? What's happening now? What happens next? Do it as a story. Just work together and be as open as you can. Be as creative and open as you can. Don't let anything affect you. Okay.
We should create one story.
Yeah, one story between you. Any more questions? Is everybody clear?
Yes.
Good. Thank you.
In relation to waiting with something, maybe I imagine someone in there, she wants to do what? She wants to make sure. She's like, oh, my wife is right, and there too I have to do
No, it's only really psychological. You just feel I like what you said, like in that picture, I think running that, the information goes like running technology as well.
Yeah, maybe sometimes.
We're all really dark and busy.
Yeah, and it's like vague. I don't think so. Also the mood of the art.
It'll be a colour.
Yeah,
I think it's romantic story maybe outside the orange because they did that and this way she's just running and falling on. She could be bringing another
really trippy, I know. I thought I maybe not, it's just you the other house is like yes, there's like a big
relatives there and yeah, maybe it's just so bad.
yeah, and then afterwards I'll tell you how much I want to see over there. I'm like, I'm rolling over
Maybe she's not serious. She looks like she's a really she's no, she's really yeah. Yeah. Where is she?
It's funny that
What you need to do is to possibly choose one of you to tell the story, or you can do two, whatever you like. You can do it any way you like. But what I want you to do is to come up to the front and tell the story as you see it. So that's quite important, but more important, let's make you the first. Do you mind being the first group? Okay. They're going to come up. What I want you to watch, observe what you feel. First of all, observe how wrong they are. How they've got it completely wrong. You know, and how stupid to think the way, unless it's a little bit like yours, in which case it's nearly right. What I'm interested in doing is seeing how you have trained yourself to look at other people's work and to look at other people's ideas. Okay? So, do you want to come up? Come on, all of you come up and whoever you want to. Okay, so now listen. The second thing is, observe the person who is, this is a bit of a pressure on whoever does it first, but observe the person carefully who's doing it. Karen, go back to that slide and there's no pressure. No, I like a bit of pressure. We don't see things as they are, we see things as we are. Do you get this yet? Kind of get it. Yeah, you will. You'll get it. But it's quite abstract, actually. But okay, let's see how we go. Go on, then whoever's going to do it. I'll sit on here and hold your ball.
Okay, so we think something bad has happened to this girl.
Right.
So we had a negative, like we're thinking rape, or possibly she's been injured.
You just lost half the audience there when you said rape. There was a lot of no. Okay, right. not to put any pressure on you.
Something bad has happened.
So something bad's happened, possibly rape.
Possibly sexual.
Possibly sexual.
And she's deciding whether to go back to the house or not. So there's something's happened, and this person who's done something to her is back in the house. She's not sure if she should go back, but she has no other options. She thinks she doesn't want to go, but she sees no other option for herself.
So she's in a kind of cleft stick. She may have been, she's been harmed in some way.
Yes.
There's a bad feeling about this situation. And yet, and this is very interesting, see how you feel about this, she feels she has to go back. Now, somewhere in the psyche of this group of 4 people, somewhere within you, that is a familiar, I won't go into that. But, I think okay, it's very clearly explained. Did he do a fair assessment of what you believe?
Yeah, I mean, we all had slightly different kind of understandings.
But if you feel like adding something, do so.
Oh, no. We just had, the general consensus was that she wants to go back and that something has to happen.
And I think that bit there, which you're coming back to again, is the key element of your explanation of it. Okay? That's my interpretation. It could be a load of bollocks. It's simply mine. It's how I see what they've said. Right, thank you very much. Well done. Might as well do it in rows then. Okay, so did you observe how you felt as they were saying it? As he was saying it? Did you feel a kind of...
Start.
Yeah. He's so wide awake, this bloke now. He's the most alert person in the room. He can't stop listening. I say, did you feel it? Oh, yes. Okay, right, good.
Okay, so this is Martha. She's escaping from her old village because...
Hang on. I think I don't want to miss anything, because you actually gave her a name, didn't you?
Yes.
Think about that. They don't like the fact you gave her a name.
Martha.
Oh, they don't like that either.
Martha.
Okay, right.
Because we thought she was Italian.
Oh, hang on. She's not only Martha, she's Italian. Exactly how did you come to this conclusion? From her dress or her hair?
Yes, we were like, yeah, she's Italian.
And her body.
Yeah, her well, she's very thin, but like, yeah.
Italians are not thinner.
No.
Hang on a second. Now, just think about this. From a picture where what you've described, they're seeing an Italian girl who's called Martha. And did you all agree with that?
Italian, yeah. Adriana, I thought.
Shall we have a vote, Adriana or Martha? Who's for Martha? Who's for Adriana? Who thinks they're talking all over crap? Okay, good.
So Adriana?
No, stick with Martha. That's what you started with.
Martha is escaping from this town that has just been demolished. Women are being raped, children are being killed.
Wow. So we have commonality. Okay, but it's interesting. See the diversion already. It's actually a very interesting image, and I've done this many times. Never heard anyone say that. This is a town that has been devastated, and these are the only places that are left. Is that right?
No. She's escaping from a town that was devastated. So that was the past.
See, I'm not
right
listening.
now, she's on her way to hope, in a way. Like, she just found this little village. She really needs to eat because she's been lots of days without eating. She just tripped in the way. Now she can't even walk. So she's just carrying herself up to this village. And she really hopes she can find someone there. So
It's
that's
like
the
the
now.
refugee.
Yeah.
So exactly the opposite to what you said. As opposed to a bad feeling that it emanates, they feel this is a refuge from a town that she's escaped from, and she is drawn towards it. Now the important thing is none of this is right. I don't know what Wyatt was thinking when he painted this. I've been to this place, I know where it is. But I don't know what he was thinking about. So it's not wrong. What is important is this is what you as a group, and when you were talking about it, you really believe it, don't you? Once you start on this fantasy, You really, really believe what you're saying. And so you can have this dissonance, well, she's more of an Adriana than a Mark. And that's quite legitimate. But remember, you're looking at a piece of oil on canvas. Okay. So, so what you're saying is, this is you use the word hopeful. This has more hope than you thought, more doubt and fear. This is a girl who is thin because she's not been eating well. She has no energy and she's crawling towards this place, away from a town where it's in devastation, towards a place of hope. Would that be a fair assessment?
Yep.
Okay, very good, very clear. Thank you very much. Here he comes.
So,
He can't stay speaking before we've started. Hey, right. Okay, good.
so he has really good eyes, so he saw that she's wearing plain white socks, and this must be like a wealthy background, because you can have really plain white sock if you're like from a proletarian background.
Okay, just let's stop there for a second. Let's see if we get a consensus. So evidently, what have I got on? Oh no. Has anybody got any plain white socks?
Anyone?
No, white sock.
Wait, so
Do you mind stepping up here for a second? Are you from a wealthy background? So,
they're really little ones. I don't know if they still count.
yeah, they count. Should we allow them to count? So these socks are an indication of her wealth status.
We're not now, we're not in the year 2000.
Oh, sorry, sit down again. You're too young.
Amy, you're rich, not really rich.
I mean, it's
Wait a minute, that's a very interesting thing that you said that I didn't realise. You're seeing this as in the past,
Yes.
which no one else has mentioned. Because I actually said what's happening now. There's nothing wrong with what you're saying, but now what makes you think this is before, other than the white sock that she's wealthy? What is her dress? Is it
The
house?
fashion, the architecture, yeah. And she France style.
Yeah. So you're taking out of the picture that this is a time period. This is of a period.
Yes.
And that will affect. Now, can you see that completely affects every other piece of information in this image? Think how often in your work as a creative person you put these clues in. The biggest shock of my life, I stopped being a writer. I started out as an art director, then I became a writer, and then for 5 years I directed commercials. And I hated advertising people. I hated creatives when I was, because they always wanted to change everything and they never knew what they were talking about. Because they all had, and suddenly it's like I ride a bicycle and a scooter, and when I'm on the scooter I hate drivers of cars. When I'm in the car I can't stand bloody motorcyclists, they're idiots. So wherever I am I'm looking at the other people in the wrong. But what I learned about being a director is to try and listen to what the creative was saying. It's very, very difficult. It's because you're bringing, we're the only group, journalists don't do this, designers don't do this, we work still in pairs, something that Bill Bernbach started, less than it used to be. But if I can think of some of the people Bob worked with, and I bet he knows them better than their wives and mothers. I know that people I work with as an art director or a writer, I knew intimately, and we brought our lives in together. And what's happening here is somehow or other, some visual clue informs them that this is of a different time. So everything they say will go through the letterbox of that vision. You see what I'm saying? The reason why this is not just a pleasant exercise for a bit of fun is because it makes you examine how you think creatively. Which is why I keep saying to you, watch what your head's doing as you see this happen. Because this is what you do all the time. Sorry, I'm to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Yeah, and we're like another interpretation, which I think is the best interpretation ever, because
already I don't like it. He's oversold.
And it's his.
Best ever. God. Oh, just a minute, did you get that? Did you all get that bit there? And it's his.
Well,
he's unstoppable, this man. Go on, go on.
Well, he's thinking that she is running away because she's anxious to getting punished for not finishing mowing the lawn because the lawn is parsley lawn.
Excellent.
I like that.
Excellent team.
I like it.
Horse is the paint is the perspective of a horse. So
The perspective of a horse.
yeah,
Is that the lawnmower?
the horse is looking at her. She just fell from it, and she can't arrive at home. The last bit.
Hang on a minute, we've got somebody mowing a lawn, a horse we can't see. And it's all 50 years
It's
ago.
to divide. It's three different ones.
Oh, 3 different ones. What's the third?
One is the lawn, one is the horse. The first one is the aristocratic girl with Stockholm syndrome. Yeah, she just ran away. She just ran away, but she's considering if she's gonna come back.
Okay, just let's stop for a moment while I take a phone call. No, it's Nils, can speak to him. I want anybody to come to the back and explain what they're talking about. Can you give it a go. We've got Stockhausen syndrome.
Stockholm syndrome.
Stockholm syndrome.
Yes.
Come on. Right, go on.
Stockholm.
Yeah. And can you please relate that to the lawn mowing?
Doesn't relate. Doesn't relate.
Oh, it doesn't relate.
Hang
on. Hey, at the back. Oi. Concentrate. This is the point here, so don't miss it. This is the client, and this is the agency, and they've given him Stockholm syndrome.
Who are you?
I'm a man laughing on the side. Okay, right. Stockholm syndrome, a horse that is not there,
Yeah.
and a mown lawn. Interestingly, none of them is wrong or irrelevant. But do you know what they're talking about?
No.
Truthfully, I don't know what you're talking about. I do, to be honest, because I've seen this so many times. But the point I'm saying, you know what you're talking about because you've been sitting there talking it together. They don't know what the hell you're talking about. It's all very interesting, and it genuinely is. Now it's Nils again.
He wants to know the story.
Yes, he knows it. He's Danish. So right, that's the problem. Do you see what I'm saying? You find it difficult that they don't know what you're talking about, don't you? Be honest, you do.
No.
Except you don't find it difficult. You understand it, that's all that matters. Okay, continue. Is there any more to this?
No.
Because oh no.
You can go.
No, you can't go. Tell him what. Right. He is the client. Tell him what's involved here.
Just pick one to make it easy.
Okay, the way we see it as a picture happening some time ago before there were televisions and cars, and we see a really wealthy girl because she had fresh white socks, and if anything really bad would be happening, those socks wouldn't be white. And this girl could either fall from a horse who is watching her, and while she fell from a horse because she was running from her home because everybody wanted to punish her because she did not do the lawn because she still had so much money. What we were trying to say is that the picture, she still wants to go back home because these houses are beautiful, but they're so far away so that there are not enough details for you to see how happy she can be there. So this is.
So you see it as a positive place. So two see it as a positive, one as a very negative. So you see the dissonance already. You actually sum that up very well. I think your ideas are very interesting, but you didn't get it over. You kind of got lost on it. Yeah, it stopped. So, you see, this is exactly what happens in presentations all the time. So a round of applause. Very well done. Thanks for being quiet. Right, so you're all getting this now, aren't you? Let's go back to the slide first, Karen. We don't see things as they are, we see things as we are. Perfect example, white socks mean you're rich. I know what you mean. But so when you're casting, you put somebody in white socks in a commercial and you think, oh well, everyone will think this person's rich. I'm being facetious slightly. But you see what I mean? You're making an assumption that is perfectly valid within the context that you're saying it. He's technically home now, he's leaving. I thought you were looking for your white socks. Okay, so you're getting the idea. Next one. Oh, this is a 3.
This girl with her fiance had a trip in the countryside.
Yes.
Before a wolf attacked them, they was on a bicycle. The wolf attacked them. Then her fiance protected him from the wolf, and he had very serious injuries. Then she also injured, and she's walking looking for help. She saw this small village or this house, but she cannot reach them because she's bleeding. Then she died, and her fiance also dead, and nobody knows about it.
Okay, what are you smoking?
Yeah.
I guess so.
Well, within the line of reasoning that we're hearing, it's not that far-fetched, except what you've done, you've extrapolated into a much bigger story. There's a famous thing in the English newspapers about someone who took their girlfriend to South Africa and was killed recently in the townships. And it's got a similar ring to that. It wasn't a wolf. Sorry, what was the bicycle bit? I forgot. Oh, they were on bicycles, weren't they? But again, you're seeing that as a refuge, aren't you? But she can't make it because she's so badly injured. I'll tell you later that you've made a very interesting point about the injury, because that's relevant to what Wyeth was thinking. But go ahead.
Yeah, there is also like a positive end of the story. At the moment when she falls and she sees the city, she remembers like her teacher who taught her some tectonic dances. She dances that, and wolves are impressed, and they don't touch her. And they like all happily like leave.
Is she with you? She's on a different tectonic dances. Sorry, no, I missed it.
Classic end of
classic.
Not classic end of the story, like a positive one.
Yeah. Why do you? This is I could do an hour with you on why you need to make this a positive end. It would be quite interesting. I don't mean that in any nasty way. I do really, but it's the fact that she is a woman. You're working with 2 men. This is a situation where you have abstracted the man who was her boyfriend. You are taking her part. You see her as image, and because she looks so vulnerable, dance is often seen as an expression of life, as you say. That's the classic element in it. So what you're doing is you're re-infusing life into what. Enough of that. Right, next. Thank you very much. Very good. Okay, next ones. So have you all been watching what you feel as they say these things? Are you on the back row? Have you all been watching? Good. It's quite interesting how you fluctuate, you change all the time. Okay.
Okay, we thought that we didn't work out she knows the secret, and someone's trying to keep her from revealing the secret, so they threw her in a river, which is why we thought she looks like she's been
bedraggled, yeah.
Yeah, and so she's been searching for days and days, and finally got to this point. She's very malnourished. She hasn't eaten or drunk anything in days. She's like really, really skinny. So now she's finally found the house, which is like her salvation, but she's going to die before she gets there.
Okay, so just to sum that up, she's the most interesting thing to me, and I'm saying this is only me, was where you started. You know, they say when you train as an analyst, they say in the first session, sometimes I work for 5-6 years with some patients, they say in the very first session you hear everything you're going to hear in the next 6 years. So you have to be really careful and listen. So I've been trained to care, and you started with a very significant thing which is different. He said, this woman has a secret. And I would say this is a painting about secrecy. In some way, I don't even know what that means, but I thought you caught the spirit of the painting in saying she had a secret. Then you kind of ruined it by saying she was dumped in a river. That's because she's in Australia.
They tried to drown her.
Yeah, they tried to drown her. Okay, well that's fair enough. That's your interpretation. I think it's nonsense. But there you are. But again, so you see that she's trying to get there, doesn't get there, so it's salvation. Now Karen will tell you, in the many times we've done this runs exactly against the run of play. Because mostly it's what you four thought. Mostly people think it's a terrifying and foreboding thing. However, what I like about this story and some of the others with her is the fullness about it. It feels almost real in a way. And it's getting details like her emaciated arm and her bestraggly hair, like she has gone into water. Now, one of the things I learned as a director is that you can recut something and totally change its meaning. I think the greatest thing in all advertising, all communication, films included, is editing. If I started my life all over again, I would be an editor. I think that it has the greatest power, it has the greatest deep emotional interest. And what you're doing is editing this picture. And that I thought was a good edit. Thank you very much. Okay.
No pressure.
Now, before you say anything, what do you notice about these four people?
They haven't slept.
Correct. Yes, they were all asleep on the back row, which is quite good. Now, what's the other thing you notice?
They're all
about
men, and the other group had girls, so I'm sure they're...
So let's see if that makes a difference. Okay.
Be surprised. A sort of crackly classical music comes out of a gramophone, old gramophone player. She's run off. She's been weakened by this nutty professor who's been keeping her in the big house. There's a perimeter in which she can, well, he's made, which is that line over there. And he was falling asleep. Anyway, she had a chance to walk away, but she's so weak that she can't get any further. And he's called out to her. Maybe the music stopped. You know, the music stopped. She knows she's been found out. So that's the before. The now is, well, that moment. She's realised that she's been caught. She's outside the perimeter. She's too weak to go back. And like you've heard before, she's contemplating, like, shall I go back? Shall I go on? It's a choice of survival, because if she goes on, she's too weak to survive. And if she goes back, well, she's still with him. So she's reluctant. So the after, she does go back. It's the Stockholm syndrome. And so she has a love affair with her captor. And he's made some food for her. And he doesn't punish her when she goes back. Because that's what he does it for. To know he has the power over her.
It's a rewarding moment when she goes back.
Yeah. It was just when you two were laughing, you were like Beavis and Butthead. What's it got? What do you got on your head in this? Okay, good. Okay. Now it's interesting. This is the second mention of the Stockholm syndrome. Interestingly, you locate a lot of the interest and action within the house in neither a foreboding sense nor a warm sense. It is just where this guy lives. And what I find interesting is using that. It's like those things they have for dogs where they can't go, you know, the electric fence. Exactly. But she's got past it. So they have used several visual clues here. Interestingly, nobody's mentioned these. These usually get mentioned, these tracks.
Oh, we had them.
Yeah.
They were people, they just told us when it was.
Correct. So, I think again, a very interesting interpretation. So thank you very much.
What about, I don't know. What about if it's just very normal? Maybe she's just there.
Hang on, this is the bloke who in the presentation when you won the account comes in and says, actually I didn't agree with that.
Oh, no, maybe she just...
You're on your own, mate. We were a team.
I'm going to drop him in it.
I totally agreed to him and to the group. I'm going to say that.
Yeah, but I'm now going to say the opposite to that.
No, I just thought, I don't know. Maybe it's just very normal. Maybe she's just there on vacation, and she just no. Maybe she's just she has this how do you say, epiphany? Yeah. And she just like when you see something and you just realize the beauty. Maybe it's just no, because everyone tries to construct.
What time did you go to bed last night? Oh, he didn't go to bed.
Not at all.
Oh, that's the explanation.
No, but
no.
Certainly it looks very dramatic. But
No, I think this is more interesting.
I don't know. Maybe she's just. Maybe she just has this. Like this. Wow. Like when you see something which you have seen a lot of times, but certainly. Suddenly you I don't know, just recognize something else.
Listen, may I book a session with you? I think I'm going to analytics. There's a bit of your background going. I get it. What you're saying is it's not as doubtful and as negative. It's quite, there is a normal element.
Because also the movement she makes, she's very secure in her back. And he just has this spontaneous
okay,
movement.
Sit down, because I'm going to tell you what Wyeth painted. This is called Christina's World. And Christina was a friend, the daughter of one of his best friends. She didn't live there, that's Wyeth's house. And on her leg, which you don't see, it's on the other leg. And she couldn't move very easily, and she was literally a cripple. So he painted this, as somebody said, it was 50, 60, 70 years ago. And no one can, what is, a bit like the Mona Lisa's stuff, what you are saying is true. It is her position. Her position tells you so much about her. She's vulnerable, which is why rape often comes in there, why her thinness of arm comes in there. All of these clues. Now this is exactly what we do every time we create a piece of communication. We put clues in there. Often they're missed, and maybe they should be. They work at a subliminal, unconscious level. But if you take some of the great, if you take that Cadbury commercial with the gorilla, what the fuck was it about? Nobody knows. It doesn't matter, because it's enjoyable in some way. And that was they were clever enough to know that. So I think what I want you to do within this is to watch your own. He's still here. He hasn't given up on this.
What?
No, but yeah.
What, I mean, you're assuming that everyone knows the context.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
That this is a painting. That this is
an
ad.
I'm not assuming that.
If you
because I didn't tell it you beforehand. If I told you that before you started, everyone. That's the whole point of this exercise. I say don't assume. Put yourself into it. Don't you find it interesting that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different groups of people see 5 almost entirely different things? And that if you're in your group, you really believe that's what happened. But when you hear from, when you're in the other group, because you've now formed your own opinion of what it was, you automatically invalidate what the other group says. It's impossible not to do that. You know, they talk about judges. When Bob, I've judged here many times. And you begin by being impartial, but gradually you get swayed by this unconscious group power. And that's what happened here today. So I'm saying that's what Wyeth put in the painting. It's not what I see in the painting. I don't see this painting like anybody who's sent it today. I won't bother to go into what I think, but it's what I did. I brought my own personal experience to vulnerable women, to houses out. This is like Derbyshire, where I was born. I have a house like this there. It's isolated, it's alone, and I love that. So I project myself into that. This girl reminds me of one of my aunties, who in fact did have a caliper as well, and was shunned in those days. But that's my interpretation. It's got nothing to do with your interpretation. But if I was trying to sell you this painting, which is what we do, sell the image, I would be selling it from where I stand. So to go back to Aeneas Nin, we don't see things as they are, we see things as we are. It's a very, very profound thought and very relevant to what we do. Does anybody else want to make any comment? Yeah.
The only thing like I find interesting is that I could see it a million different ways. Like when you're having that discourse among yourself, I feel like someone's like that. Like, oh, I can see it that way, and then your mind is malleable in terms of different ways you can see it.
Yes.
So I guess there are probably broad themes that resemble who you are. Like maybe like is she going to the house or going away? But I still think there's definitely like you can see it in a million different ways. So to that quote, I don't know, I guess all those different ways are still in the box of who you are.
That's right, that's right.
I mean, a comment I have is that usually when you're giving any kind of speech or any kind of explanation on something, the purpose or the objective that you have behind it really shapes a lot of what you're trying to. And in this exercise, we had no purpose, we had no objective. It wasn't clear if we were trying to convince someone or if we're just trying to be as creative as possible or as weird as possible. So without the objective, you can't really shape well what you're saying.
Well, that's interesting. I would say 3 of the best art directors that I've worked with, Paul Arden especially, Graham Fink, I was just talking to outside here, and a guy called Martin Reevely who hung himself. But what I noticed was, and what I learned from them, was to start from nowhere. Paul would always say, let's start with a banana, let's start with a kangaroo. And I think, well, why fuck them out, why waste time? But actually, to take your point, what we were doing is not starting with an agenda. Because unconsciously, if you've read the brief, you've got the agenda anyway. So free yourself up and start moving from the kangaroo to the banana to the answer. Do you see what I'm saying? It's difficult when you first start. It takes experience and it takes confidence. But it was interesting how confident all of you were in talking about this. If you can apply that confidence to what you do, you're going to be well ahead, aren't you? You don't have to be right. You just have to engage. You don't have to be perfect, you just have to try. And then what happens is something comes out the other side. I want to tell you something, nobody in this room, with the possible exception of you, got here by mistake. I think you may have just wandered straight out of bed to here. But in general...
Are you kidding?
Yeah, I'm kidding. It's not very good, but it's called an English sense of humour. Right.
I accept that.
Okay. You are where you are meant to be. You are in this thing. You were selected. It's difficult to be in. It's a very privileged position. But you got here because you know what I'm talking about, and you do it. The most difficult thing is to honour that in yourself. Is to allow yourself to be. I respect you saying what you said, even though you began everything by no. I know why you said. It rankles with you. You want to make the point, and I think I honour that. I genuinely do. I'm making a joke, but I genuinely mean that. I think every person has the right to their own view. The difficulty is you're going to be judged all the time from now on, and it's an obstacle course. It's also a marathon, not a sprint. I've been doing this 40 years. I've had so many downturns, everything you can think of, from jail to bloody bankruptcy to everything. And in the end, I'm here today. And my objective is to pass it on. The bit that I know, I'm trying to pass it on to you. And I'm trying to say, listen to yourself. Because listen to the creativity that was in every single version that was here. And listen to how, although not a single group agreed completely, not one person in it, by getting together in the group and allowing one person to speak, you gave it validity. And that is the process for creatives. Because you will have 90% of what you do in your life rejected. And living with uncertainty is the greatest difficulty of all. It's actually easier to have something smashed in front of you, because then you can react to it. What's harder is when you don't know why. I'm saying these provocative things, and the reason I got our friend here to come up and play the client was, that's what happens. He genuinely doesn't understand, but you're standing here, and all four of us get it. So why can't he get it? What's wrong? It's only when you can step outside and see that it's not how things are, what's the phrase? Not how we see things as they are. We're seeing them as we are. So every day of my life, I wake up depressed. I think I have since I was 3 years old. And gradually, and I don't take anything anymore, for many years I don't. So I accept that I do, but I know that when I see, I sat and had breakfast at the Majestic, and I thought, what a lot of American arseholes. I live in America, but they were, I'm sorry about this, Karen, but they were loud voices, shouting about bollocks, talking a lot of crap, forgetting that I'm in the same business and I talk a lot of crap, and also because I'm northern, I shout a lot. But I'm seeing it from my point of view, and then as the day goes on, I feel better. Having seen you lot, I feel a lot better. Particularly having seen him, I feel fantastic. Look at you. Are you serious, he's thinking? Me? Yeah, me? You were the star turn. Before you start to work, check who you are and what you are and how you are. I know this sounds like bunkum, but it's true. Because you bring in to what you do what you are that day.
And what if you challenge it?
You should challenge it.
If you go to the opposite? I mean, it's obvious.
I think it's a good idea to go to
It's so obvious.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So why not?
No, I agree. I actually think it's a really good idea to go to the opposite. People say, make as if. You know, if you feel this thing, do the opposite. So I think all I wanted to get over here today is that you have the power examining your thought process to see how you get there, and use it like a judo throw. Use the energy to go forward rather than resist it, which is what by our nature, we resist all the time. I resist almost, I hate people, I don't like things, I don't like being here, I don't like my wife who's here with me. Whatever. I don't like that Christina and her rotten old gammy leg. I don't like any of it. I don't like Wyeth's painting. I hate advertising. I wrote a note about people sitting in the aisles last night in case there's a Heysel Stadium coming in there. I'm the miserable man. And another part of me is generous and soulful and decent and honourable. And it starts about 11:30. But I know myself. I know myself very, very well. I recognise myself. I recognise myself in you, I recognise myself in you, and I recognise myself in you. I've learnt to do that, and to honour it, and to be glad that I am who I am, and glad to be who you are, to be who you are. And that is the essence of communication and what we do. And I think you're very fortunate to be in it. And I hope, I've done this all over. And people often write to me afterwards and say, it made a big change for me because I shift, which is the idea. This man George Lois, who has spoken, he's to me, he was like Ron Collins, only better. I mean, he was a brilliant ideas man, and he's a bit of an egomaniac, but he's profound. But you know, the best thing in his latest book is a picture of him and his dad outside the grocery store that his dad had in Queens, his Greek father. Because that's who he is. He's a grocer selling. He knows how to sell. Know who you are, because that's where you're selling from. That's where you're working from. So I was a bit tentative about doing it so quickly this morning, but it's actually worked out very well. Mainly because actually you're a bright group. I say that to every single group. That's what George Lois told me. All grocers say that. No, I'm not being sincere. You were bright and you entered into it. And you lost your egos fairly quickly. So I thank you very much for being part of it.
Because when you guys were working, you said to me, this is a great group. I can tell from the energy. So I get into a room, I can tell immediately what the energy is like, and there's a fantastic energy in this room. So he's absolutely genuine what he says. Thank you very much, Tim. Thanks, Bob.
Thanks a lot, all of you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
See you, bye.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Thanks for coming and doing it. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.